Hello everyone and welcome to an unboxing of the Collector's Edition variant of Dead by Daylight, the board game, which I believe fully released out of the Kickstarter in the first third of 2023, although the base version has now or will be about to hit retail. It's a very long box. I haven't seen a box this long since Bardsung, I think. And it's very nice though, very high quality. I like the picture on it. Dead by Daylight is a video game. Ooh, there, that's all that's on the back. Is a video game I played a ton when it was in early access and just along its progress of becoming what it is today. Stopped playing it for a few years, went back for a little bit. It's changed a lot over the years. It's got so many movie tie-ins with like the Alien, when Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's just so, and like things like what else is in there now? Stranger Things, although it went away for a little while, came back, and it's probably in Chucky most recently as well. It's very well known for its tie-ins these days, but it has been and continues to be a very successful video game that had a board game adaptation, and it comes with a little sheet here to tell us about the game that's not on the box. It's 3 to 5 players from what I understand from some looking into it. 3 players is probably the ideal experience for a balanced experience. 5 puts it in the favour of the survivors too much compared to the killer. If you aren't aware, it's 4v1, and we'll look into more as we see the components of the game. They say it's light complexity, and it takes 45 minutes or so by level 99 games and behaviour there. There is unofficial solo variants for the game that I'm looking forward to trying, and unbeknownst to the creators of the game, they've actually managed to accurately replicate the game down to the rhetoric surrounding the video game that surrounds it to this day, where the community is constantly at odds with each other as to whether or not the killer is underpowered or the survivors are overpowered or vice versa. Like, that rhetoric exists for this game, which I just find adorable. Now, before we get into the main box, there's one little side box you get given along with this. I'll probably flip this background as well, so let's have a look. So as instructed here, with this little leaflet you get in the package as well, they separated the miniatures. That's the only real difference between the collector's edition and the standard edition, is more of killers, more of maps, and you get miniatures instead of, I don't know if it's standees or tokens, but either way, or more of them anyway. So there is exclusive to the collector's edition miniatures of the generators. That's a gameplay mechanic, and in order to keep them extra protected during transit, they actually put them in a side storage thing. But as it says on that bit of paper, if you paused and read it, there is enough room in this box for these miniatures. It's just they wanted to be absolutely sure they didn't break, which is a nice attention to detail and some extra level of care. So we're going to look at these first, oddly enough, just because they are kept separate and they do have additional packaging. So they are all identical. They're a lot larger than I thought they are, or would be, and it is the generators that the survivors are trying to activate in order to escape whichever killer is trying to eat them. It's worth getting out of the way right now. Officially speaking, there is none of the licensed IPs in this game. It's all the original killers only, so you're not going to have Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, etc. The IP management for that would be an absolute nightmare, so there is unofficial support for some of them though. I took a little look around. Michael Myers does have some unofficial rules. The Nemesis and Wesker from Resident Evil have some unofficial rules, so you can incorporate those unofficially speaking if you have miniatures to represent them from other games and such. That is a very nice looking generator, and although I haven't played the video game adaptation for a while, to me that looks spot on with how it looks in the game. And you get 8 of those, I believe, 2, 4, 6, 8, yes, in the box here. So we'll find out where those go as we crack open the lid. Alright, I brought the big box a little bit closer, and let's take off the lid here and see what waits us inside. Can't really pull back any further than I already have. It again, it's a very long box. So we have just a bit of, oh no, there is a reason for it. We have Dead by Daylight, the board game. Death is not an escape. From what I recall roughly of the lore of the game, the survivors that you're playing as are all kind of trapped in an endless loop by the entity. So they're just getting tormented for things they did. I don't know. I made up my own backstory for the character I liked playing as, the hobo guy. I can't remember his name offhand, but we'll find him because I know he's here somewhere. I can't repeat the backstory I invented for him here though. Slightly NSFW. But either way, so that is just a quick game overview and game aid to have at the side of the table there. It does give you the, well, actually there we go, it does give you the rough flow of the game. Survivors play cards, want to find generators, they activate enough generators, they open up the exit, or power the exit, then you open the exit and you can escape. Whichever killer you play as, they want to wound and then knock down survivors, hang them on hooks as sacrifices to the entity, gathering sacrifice points, and if they get enough, they win. So that's the 2 win conditions, and then there's blood points which you use to spend on your special powers. Slightly different to how that works in the video game. What is this? That is a catalogue for L99 games, don't need to see that really. And then we have our rulebook right here. Large, but not super long. And this just goes over the general flow of gameplay. I'll just skip to the end. How many pages is this? This is 19, 20 pages counting the credits at the back. So 19 including some FAQs, additional gameplay modes. Yeah, you'll notice here the gameplay mode there's nothing about a solo mode. Any solo rules you'll find online are unofficial, but some of them have been well thought out from what I've seen, so I'm interested in trying those. But there is other ways you can customize your game as well, which we'll see as we go on. Under that, it looks like we have a list of all the game's components. Oh, very reflective. 10 survivors, 10 killers, 10 minis for each, so 20 in total. This is the base components, I think. Oh no, these are the additional for the collector's version. Double-sided game board for the Asylum map and Ormond, and then the base game also has one. Oh yeah, there we go. Collector updates. Generator minis can be used to replace revealed generator tokens. Hook minis can be used to replace revealed hook tokens. Deluxe blood points can replace blood point tokens for a more tactile experience. They function like normal blood points in all aspects. And a survivor being hooked to a mini. Yes, that is true. There is a hole in the minis' backs, so you can literally hang them like they do in the video game. Alright, so no matter what we move on to next, I'm going to have to open a poly wallet, so one moment. So I believe these are collector edition. Actually, it might be all of them based on how many there are here. There's quite a big pile here, although there's some there. Of additional survivors and potentially killers, although obviously this is a survivor. It tells you that. It tells you their difficulty and how to use them. It tells you what their backstory is, roughly speaking. This is where you keep your blood points to spend on the abilities down below for the points listed and what they do. Although the game has an additional layer of complexity, you can customize the perks equipped. These are just their defaults. Then on the back of each of them is a rough overview of everything a survivor can do during their turn. And the back is the same on all of them. So we have Yoonjin Lee, we have Kate Denson, we have Jeff Johannesson, Yui Kimura, Felix Richter, David King, I remember David King, Adam Francis, Jane Romero, Serena Kassir, Elodie Rakoto, and back to the start. Yeah, I only recognise one of their names, so those must be newer characters. So that must mean these are probably the default game ones. So let's see what we have in this second pile. Very nice card, by the way, just thick enough I would describe it as. So Fen Min, Ace Visconti, I remember him. Nia Carlson, I remember Nia. Claudette, I remember very well, yep. And these are the original. There's my guy, that's who I played as. His name was Jake Park. Yeah, what is his actual backstory? Solitary survivalist, able to hold his own in most situations. Yeah, that's quite different to the backstory I gave him that involved, you know, I can't even say. Don't worry about it. Dwight, everybody knows Dwight. He's the meme character. Meg, I know Meg. And then back to the, yeah. So that is the base. If you get the normal version of the game, these are the survivors that you get right here. So still in its poly wallet, so it's very reflective, but there isn't really anything else to show off since it's just the one sheet of paper. These are additional tokens for additional killers added in the collector's edition, as it points out right there. I couldn't tell you offhand whomst. I don't remember who has throwing knives. I remember the Huntress has throwing axes. That's probably the Blight, or whatever she's called, for the poison chalices. But beyond that, not sure. But these are for the additional killers, tokens you need because of their mechanics. Speaking of which, I'm guessing, yeah, the collector edition killers will be on top, and then the base box will be below that. So Killer Playboard is very similar to a Survivors in the sense that you have a general difficulty rating, you have their backstory. It has a gameplay reminder of the steps the game has. It's planning, survivors get a turn, killer gets a turn, then cleanup. They also want blood points to spend on their abilities. They have a special power, they have a passive, and then they have 3 traits and listed costs, and you know, they go into specifics when you can use them. I remember the twins being added, but I never played as them. And then on the back it just has the quick reference for killer interactions. So for a killer you're not playing as, have them on this side to remind you of everything you can do. Then we have the Huntress, who I was just talking about actually. She hums so you know when she's nearby, but she chucks throwing hatchets at you. Difficulty rating easy. The Spirit, I quite liked playing as the Spirit, I remember that. The Plague, oh that's who I was thinking of, it's not the Blight, it's the Plague. Even though she does blight people, but she's called the Plague, that's why I always got her name confused. My favourite one I like playing as, I think, is in the base killers down here, we'll look at in a second. I don't remember his official name, I think it was the White, because we just always called him Bing Bong, because he rings his bell to turn invisible. I did play as a Deathslinger a little bit when I went back to the game to try him out in Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. I liked playing as the Clown for the brief time I did when I went back to the game after a long break. The Legion, I think, was the newest killer they were adding at the time. I don't really remember if I enjoyed him or not. The Oni, which is cool, I think that was added after I stopped. There's the actual character they called the Blight. Yeah, I stopped playing before they added him. Difficulty hard, so that means the difficulty in using, by the way, not the difficulty to oppose. The Trickster, never heard of them, looks like a Dishonored character. And then back to the twins. So I think from the base box we have the Doctor. I like playing as the Doctor. He causes survivors to go insane. In the video game you like see flashes of stuff trying to make you get jump scared and things like that. The Hag, she puts down little teleport symbols. Yeah, blackened catalysts. What difficulty was the Doctor? Easy. The Hag is on hard. The Trapper is one of the first 3 killers the game launched with. It was him, the Hillbilly, and Bing Bong, who I think is called... oh, yep, there he is. He is indeed called the Wraith. Move directly to a space that is not connected to your space. So he kind of teleports around, that's how they represent his cloaking ability. The Hillbilly, that was their answer to Leatherface before they got permission to put actual Leatherface in the game, although they do perform differently. The Nurse, she can kind of teleport. Well, she kind of moves super fast, but then she gets out of breath if you go too fast. Quite liked using her. So that is the base killers right there. So next we have the 2 double-sided playboard areas. I think they're a bit larger than I was expecting. One of them is only available in the Collector's Edition. I think it was the one that had the Asylum, so I believe this is the Collector's Edition one right here. Yes, it was Ormond in the Asylum. So you would not have this board if you buy just the standard box, but we're just going to fold it out. It's a very thick card actually, which is good. I'm saying that not as a complaint. Not fully fitting in the size of it. I reckon that's 2x2, just about, maybe 2.5, but this is the general play area. The flow of play is you play a movement card and then you can go down a path matching that shape. The killer might be blocked by pallets, but you can smash through doors and things. When they move into a new area they have to flip one of the symbols that's on it, so if there's only a bad symbol, which are usually the red ones, you still have to flip that. You're looking for loot to use against the killer, or generators to open up the exit. The top of the board, which I'll show you once we flip it over to the other side. I remember this map actually. Yeah, I remember when this map was just added. Forgot it was called Ormond, but either way. The top of the map up here, this is where you track killer progress to the win, and then over here is survivor progress to opening that exit and getting out. Not as reflective as I was expecting for the card, especially considering this is like a very bright map. It's actually absorbing the light pretty well considering how close my studio light is. Very high quality, and again, larger than I thought the playing area was. So honestly, one of those generators sitting on here is not nearly as bad as I was worrying about, because the generators are such massive minis. And here we have the other 2 maps. Ooh, it comes in green flavour. So this is the Althaven Wreckers. I remember this map very well. It's one of the standard ones that the game originally launched with, I think. Well, I can't say that for sure, but my memory's a little fuzzy. I just remember playing on this map a lot, before there was a lot more to choose from. So that is Althaven Wreckers, and I'm pretty sure these are the standard game ones. And this is the Macmillan Estate, which is like the ubiquitous Dead by Daylight map. Yeah, with the factory that you can run up to and then jump off. Yeah, definitely. So that's the size of the player you require, plus the player boards obviously. So all in all, on a 3x3 table, which is what I'm on right now, there would probably be just enough room for like player boards and tokens and the play area itself with all the miniatures on it. So before we get to the minis over there, and that I presume is the space for the gens right there, we have tokens, so many tokens. Oh, and there's the other miniatures right there. That'll be base box, and this will be collector's edition probably. So tokens, it is 2 sheets, one with tokens for generator progress, traps, killer related stuff, hook tokens. Now because of the collector's edition, there's actually 3D pins that you can plug into the generator minis to show progress, and for killers that have been, for survivors that have been wounded, they have these little blood tokens that go under their base to show that they're one hit away from being hooked. Or rather, they can be hooked now because they've taken a hit. So that's all those are, and those are the barricades the killer can smash through but survivors can't. On this side, these are the tokens that you put down on each section relative to the colours it tells you to put down. You randomise them because they're not all the same. The red ones can either be a totem or a hook. The yellow ones can either be a generator or an exit. The blue ones can either be a hiding place in the form of a locker or a chest with items in it. Green ones can be... what can green ones be? Pallets, or... I'm honestly not sure where that other symbol is, to be honest. That's the one symbol I don't recognise. It looks like a tyre exploding, so who knows what that is. And that's blood point tokens, which I don't... yeah, we don't need those either, because you get a big old bag of 3D ones instead in the collector's edition. But those are standard, and that is first player initiative for just the survivors, because the killer always goes after everybody has a turn. So before we get to the minis, there's just a quick look at what's down here. These are your other assets for the game. We've already just shown a couple of them. This is the dice. The one that's slightly different is more in the killer's favour of you rolling a fail. I believe there's 3 fails on it, as opposed to 4 fails on it actually. 4 fails on it, and then 2 excellent successes, which is the 5 marker. Standard dice, 1 to 5 plus a fail, and if you get the 5, usually extra good stuff happens. Like if you're doing a generator and you roll that, it does 2 progress towards being finished instead of 1, although I have seen some people say you might want to house roll that out because it is a bit too strong. That will remain to be seen, or rather I'll wait and see how I feel about that. Very big chunky dice though, I like it. So then you have a bunch of cards which aren't or shouldn't be necessary unless you start customizing your game, because these are additional perk cards, as in you place them over the ones that come standard on a character board, be it a killer or a survivor. There'll be some of them will be limited, obviously some of them will be killer only and some of them will be survivor only, I imagine. But this is where you can get into the customization that honestly I didn't really like in the video game either. I felt like just standard kit made the game more fun with friends, in my opinion. Adding in perks that do a bunch of weird stuff just kind of muddled the game for me, and that's when I started getting a bit more off-put. I liked it originally when it didn't have as many. Oh, you know what? It does have one set of important cards. The movement cards, right here. So you have a crouch, a sprint, a walk, and the killer has a wait. And you kind of hide these and shuffle them and don't show them until you're doing your turn, and that's how the killer can try and predict where a survivor's going to go to catch them. And that also dictates, like, you can look where someone is on the board. If there's only a sprint and a walk, which would be green and blue, they're obviously not going to play a crouch because they can't go anywhere. So you can kind of try and play like a cat and mouse. That's them trying to replicate the feeling of a chase in the video game. And it's a very novel way of doing it. And then there is even more over here. I think these might be killer specific ones over here, because there's another set of movement cards, and then there is an item deck, and I just dropped one of those piles on the floor. We don't really need to open these to see what's available. You know what there will be if you've played the video game. There's first aid kits, there's toolboxes, flashlights and maps presumably. I don't know if they added anything else since the last time I played, but those would be the key ones, and it tells you on them what they do. So let's look at the core box minis. I've taken off the cover here, and then we're just going to zoom in and have a look, starting with Bing Bong, the Wraith. Let's just... it should hopefully be close enough. Just give it a second. There we go, to take a little look at the quality, and I would say the quality of the miniature is very nice. Very good, no cleanup required, and ready to be primed or washed and primed if you want to paint them, or perfectly usable as is. They obviously don't have the holes in the back that the killers do. I mean the survivors do rather, because the survivors are the only ones who get hooked. Here is the Doctor with his electric hitting stick. I was having a bit of trouble. There we go. Again, very nice quality. Is he leaning back slightly, or is that just... I think that's just the angle I'm holding him at. He seems fine. Not much to this one because he is just wearing like a tattered lab coat. Armless though, to show off his guns, I guess. And he channels electricity, and that's kind of like his bag. Then we have the Hillbilly. He will come into focus any second now. Hopefully right there, with his sledgehammer and chainsaw combo. Yeah, really nice. Good attention to detail with the spine showing through the exposed rip in his shirt there. And then we have the Trapper, I think. This is the poster boy for the video game. It's him on the cover. It was always laugh out loud moments when playing with friends if you end up getting stuck in one of his traps during a chase, or cursing out loud, obviously. He always felt like a Jason adjacent killer, if you know what I mean. Like he was channeling the energy of Jason. A bit of Michael Myers as well, I guess, because he's wearing those overalls and lumbering after them. So this is the nurse. She glides and flies and goes into like hyper speed. Although the trick is, though, she can't grab anyone while she's moving at hyper speed, and she takes a second afterwards. So I liked playing as her because you had to predict where someone was moving, and I always found the game very easy when playing with friends because they just rat each other out. But not that I needed the assistance, because I found I actually had a knack for guessing where people would go during a chase, and that's when they released the nurse. If you teleported onto someone, I think you just insta-grabbed them. I don't quite remember if that's how she worked. I do remember having fun with her to the point of being like, well, okay, I'm going to have to play as someone else though. But then they added perks, and I don't know what half the perks do, and that kind of ruined it. This is the Hag. She's just like an little old lady. She has portable jump scare machines. She puts little runes on the floor. If you go near the runes, a version of her pops up and goes blah. And then the real version of her has a choice when that happens. Does she teleport to where it got triggered, or does she just keep going, hoping that it'll trigger more? Which is an interesting mechanic. A little bit of cleanup needed on her leg there. And then it's the core box survivors. I'm not going to remember all their names. Oh, but here's my guy. Here's Jake Park. The Tramp, as I referred to him as mostly. But survivor minis, good quality as well. And then on their back, there it is. There's that hole in their back to get hung on a hook, Texas Chainsaw Massacre style. I think this is Meg. I never really liked Meg. Shut up, Meg. Going around with her pink shirt, getting everybody caught. Clarice? No, Clarice is not her name. It began with C though, didn't it? Either way, she's in kind of like a walking pose. It would have been interesting if they like matched some of the poses on the movement cards you play in the game. There is the other lady whose name I don't remember, slightly shorter as well, more cautious. And then the third one, and then I think it's Dwight and Ace left after that. Oh yeah, and obviously because there's no IP related killers, you're not going to get your IP related survivors, so you're not getting Nicolas Cage, and you're not getting Bruce Campbell. I don't know if there's any more beyond that. Those are the only two I know of. Let's see, this one was round the wrong way in the box. It's Dwight! Of course Dwight was backwards. Why wouldn't he be? He's grabbing his heart. He is in the process of dying. Repeatedly. And then Ace, I like Ace, he's doing the finger guns. Hey. Yeah, that's probably my favourite one. Especially because if you're hanging him from a pose, he's still just going to be giving the finger guns to the killer, watching him die. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I like that. So that is the core box stuff. If you buy just the box standard version of the game, you do still get those minis. Alright, and let's look at the collector's edition exclusive stuff. I've taken off the protective covering, but other than that, not looked at anything. What is under here? So that is the other survivors. What's in here? This is... oh, the hooks, of course, the hooks. I guess they didn't care as much about the hooks as they did the generator props, because they're all just like chucked in there, but that's fine. They're very chunky. Let's just zoom in and start giving these a look. Maybe a little bit further back. There we are. So in the game, each killer did have themed hooks, but I think they've just gone kind of like for the generic or trapper-esque ones here, because obviously they have to account for every killer, so they can't do themed ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hooks in there. Is that going to fit the generator right there? Is that what that's for? Let me grab one and check real quick, because I've got the box over here. Apologies for casting a shadow. That's not going to fit in there, so I'm curious what that's for. Well, it would that way, but there's no way you'd get the lid on, so it can't possibly be that. So I am curious where it expects you to put them. Possibly in the compartment with the... where these were, because this might be for holding tokens. Well, let's continue looking at the miniatures, but then after that, between takes, I will go look at the rulebook and see if it comes with an organizer, because I like when they do and really hate if they just give you the storage and don't tell you where things are meant to be. So here is the Oni. That's a cool looking mini. That's got a lot of detail on it. There's no way I'm going to be able to paint this well. No, you just look at a miniature and you're like, oh, that has detail beyond my skill radius. Yeah, that's one of them. Fun though. Not a killer I've ever used. Speaking of which, who is this? Oh, this is the one that I said looked like a Dishonored character. Oh, that's who the throwing knives belong to, and whatever that bat is. Yeah, I know nothing about this was called the Trickster, was it? Nothing. Don't know this person at all. Not going to pretend to. Don't know what their game is. This is Legion, or the Legion, right here. With his weird looking mask. He kind of looks like a character from, that hacker game by Ubisoft. With DedSec. I don't remember. I can remember everything about the game except what it's called. Watch Dogs 2, specifically. Oh, we've got a bent sword. Oh, that's a shame. Because it is very cool in the manner in which they've made it look like her joints are not attached, which is how she looks in the video game. So that's a really cool effect. How are they doing that with the hands? Oh, there we go. That is really clever how they've done that. So the sword is connected to the butt there, which means there can be a gap on that wrist. And part of her hand, or what's hanging from her hand, means that they don't need a conjoining bit there. And similarly, obviously the leg is just on the base. That's a really clever way to do that mini, and it is very unfortunate that she's got a bent, broken sword. But that can be fixed, obviously, but it is a bit of a shame. We'll finish what we're doing here first. We've got ourselves the cowboy, who was not called the cowboy, although he is a cowboy. He shoots like a stake into people and then can drag them towards him. I remember him doing that, or me doing that as him, I should say. Very nice quality miniature. I almost said monitor. Monitor? Yeah, very nice quality monitor. Excellent quality, actually. Better than I was expecting. Because honestly, when you see a board game, like this was my initial reaction when the board game launched, it was, this looks like an okay board game that accurately is going to recreate the video game, but the miniatures are basically just there to push Kickstarter stretch goals. And that still could be true to a certain extent, but as long as the finished miniatures are of high quality, I'm fine with it. So next we have, this is the little guy that like comes out of one of the other killers. This is going to really struggle to get into focus. I'm not sure it's going to be possible. Let's see. Almost. And maybe there. He's got his grab hands out. He's running at people. Less questions asked about that one, the better, to be honest. So these are survivors mixed in with killers here, because we had one just now. And why does her hand look a little bit different coloured? Is it bent? No, maybe it was just the light. It looks okay from here. Okay. And then this is the guy that's called the Blight, even though I think the lady with the sensor should be called the Blight. Maybe he's the one who spits out the little guy, I'm not sure. Cool model though. It looks like he belongs in Bloodborne. Hopefully that was a reasonably good view of him. And another survivor with his buzz cut and trying to lead people, I guess, again with the hole for the hook. So then we have the Huntress with her bunny mask, perfectly fine for compared to how she looks in the video game. That's exactly how I remember her looking, more or less. I don't think the axe is above her shoulder. Actually, maybe it is. I was going to say the axe isn't above her shoulder when she hunts you in the video game. It absolutely could be. I don't quite remember where she holds it. All I remember is hearing the axe get thrown at you and then just hearing it kind of go whoop right past your ear. And this is the one who was talking about, the one who poisons areas and then you have to go cleanse yourself, otherwise bad stuff happens. She's all about poisoning things. So is the clown, actually, which we haven't got to yet. He kind of throws like gas exploding bottle thingies. You know what, this is probably the one who has the little person in him, right? Because I think he had a glowing belly in the picture. Yeah, not a killer I ever experienced, so can't say for sure. But finally we have the clown. I remember the clown being a little fatter, like more like exaggerated bulk. But he looks just pudgy. He's holding one of his explosive bottles here though, which was his thing, and then he runs up and stabs you, or slashes at you. But yeah, besides that, you've got the hooks that we showed off, and then I think that is it. Let me look through it. So just a quick note, as I was tidying everything away to kind of test space, there is enough space to put 4 of the generators in here very comfortably. Also, for the extra protection they did do, putting them in this box didn't help because one set of lights on one set fell off. They were just sitting in there when I pulled them out, so didn't fully protect them, sadly, but you know, a bit of super glue will fix that. So not enough room for all of them in there, not to do them safely. There's plenty of room down here though, like once all those tokens, you could move them into there. There is no guide in the rulebook about what they expect you to put where though, so it's basically just down to you, but obviously there is enough room down here, and you can consolidate all this stuff to have even more room if you wanted, I think. And put the blood tokens over here or wherever you wish. So that's where I'm going to keep them for now. If there is a picture of where they expect you to put everything, let me know, because I don't see any other room to deal with. And it did say there's room for everything, because keep in mind you've got to punch out all those tokens and stuff, so there is more tokens to make room for, but I'm presuming that's what these are for. So, and all those cards could fit in one single pile, which would leave these free, but either way. So sans one generator that came broken that I'm going to have to go repair now. That is a look at everything you get in Dead by Daylight, the board game, the collector's edition, all back in the box, tidied away. It went on smooth the way I just did it there to the now. Once I punch out all the tokens and things, it'll be even more snug. So I don't have any issues with how it's packed together at all. And this is something you will see on the channel at some point, possibly with unpainted miniatures at first, but I do want to paint up the miniatures because I think that'd be quite fun. So look forward to that. Its first showing on the channel outside of painting updates will be a viewer verdict video for you to cast your vote on whether or not you want to see more of it or how much of it on the channel. So if you want to weigh in, feel free. Just try and keep it civil. I know how the community of the video game can be, and it does bleed over to the board game a little bit, so you know, just be respectful of each other. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little unboxing and are looking forward to seeing this some point in the future in 2024. Until next time, it's for now.